Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are so happy to have you here. Welcome to the BlueLedge webinar on transforming challenges into opportunities. It's great to see some familiar names coming in, everybody piling in. Hi, Ashley. Hi, Carrie. So glad to have you guys here. Hey, Liz. We'll get going. I'll get started with some housekeeping so you guys aren't waiting. I love that you guys are already doing the reactions. Thank you so much. Love to see those. So glad to be joined with you guys again. Very good. All right. So super quick housekeeping. Some of you, I think, have already noticed one point as we actually have the chat open for you tonight. So by all means, feel free to utilize the chat for all your comments, your highs, hellos. Since you're in there now, we could go ahead and give it a test run too. I was going to have you say, tell us where you're from. Where are you joining us from tonight? I'm in South Carolina. We got everybody coming in from different places: South Florida, New York, Texas, Kentucky. Awesome. Thank you so much. And then we have the Q&A panel. That's going to be the hotspot panel for you guys tonight. Okay. That's where you're putting the questions that you want to ask our amazing panelists that we have here tonight. And as always, you can upvote those questions too. So if someone else asks a question that you particularly want, you can upvote it. We'll try to make sure to get to those first, the best that we can. And then we'll kind of go from there. But as you're putting in there, feel free to leave some situations or things that you've come up with that you would love answers and help with. And then that's how we'll know that we can best utilize and answer them for you. The second quick housekeeping thing is you are eligible for a CEU with AAERT by attending this webinar. You do need to attend the whole time, and you do need to complete the survey that we will send you tomorrow. The survey is going to be just a little bit different in the end in how you get your certificate. So instead of having to wait for your certificate, it's going to come and pop up immediately after you complete the survey. So when you fill out the survey, at the bottom, it has the submit button. Wait there. Do not close the window. Don't close the browser. Your certificate will then pop up and you'll download it from there. Okay. So if you hop off too quick, you won't get your certificate. So just try that. We'll leave the instructions in the email for you as well, but just wanted to make sure you had the heads up. Okay. So hopefully you'll find that to be an improvement for you guys. And yes, Michelle Vaden is the best. I agree, you guys. I just saw that comment too. She's amazing.
Oh, I got a fan club.
All right. Very quick too, some industry news. Next week, you guys, we have the AAERT conference in Washington, D.C. So we'd love for everybody to come that can. If you're there, please stop by the BlueLedge booth to come see us. And we're going to pop a link to that in the chat where you can find more information and register for that as well. Okay.
It's next month.
Oh, I said next week.
No.
Sorry, my bad. Next month, June 20th through the 22nd in
I'm not ready to go
Washington.
next week. Anyway.
Thank you, Merritt. I mean, I'm ready, but you know. Okay, if you're a BlueLedge student too, check your email. You'll have an email from us at info@blueledge.com with a student discount. So feel free to check out for that too. All right, so let's get into a little bit about what we're going to have for our journey tonight, you guys. We are here, like we said, to dive into solutions, strategies, and insights for you. You wanted more opportunity to ask more questions live, and we have it. An hour and a half for you to ask some amazing industry experts that we have here in front of you. They've got all kinds of experience that they'll tell you about in just a minute. So feel free, please, to utilize that Q&A pod and pop your questions in there. We're also going to have some polls coming through to get some insight and thoughts on you for different situations you come through. So keep an eye out for those and give us your thoughts there too. And again, you already noticed the reactions. Please, we wish we could see your beautiful faces with us tonight, but we can't. So the reactions are a great way for us to feel connected to you as well. So thank you so much. Let's get started. What do you guys say? Let's start with some introductions. Merritt, you want to kick us off?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Happy to. I am Merritt Gilbert. I'm the director of BlueLedge, also the lead instructor. I am currently on the board of directors for AAERT. I'm the certification chair as well. I became a certified CER in 2013, and then I got my CDR as well. I Graduated from Florida State University with my bachelor's. I've worked in the court reporting industry since 2011, and I used to manage a digital reporting department at a medium large court reporting agency, and I trained a bunch of digital reporters and legal transcriptionists there, which is something I've kind of transferred over to what I do now at BlueLedge. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Awesome. Thank you. How about Miss Andrea? You want to go next for us?
Sure. So my name is Andrea Wecker. I am from Boise, Idaho. I am a stenographer, and I am very fortunate. I found court reporting when I was just 16 years old. And so I've been doing this for almost 25 years now. I've been a freelance reporter and a broadcast captioner and a cart provider. And I was a firm owner in Boise, Idaho. My firm was acquired by Veritext in 2022. And so now I have the privilege of managing Veritext Idaho division. I work with our reporters in the Pacific Northwest, and I also work very closely with our DR team on a national level to promote digital reporting and really to educate the entire legal community about how amazing all of you are. And I also work very closely with our digital reporters in California and the Mountain region as well. And then in addition to that, I am the president of STAR. For those of you who are not familiar with STAR, we are a national court reporting organization that really is inclusive of all methods of capture. And our mission really is to bring unity to the profession and educate the industry that no matter what technology the reporter is bringing into the room, it's that qualified, trained professional behind that technology, all of you, that actually matters here. So I'm very passionate about that, very passionate about court reporting, and I'm excited to be here tonight with you all.
Love it. Love it. And I love Jenna. Go, Michelle. Yes. Love to have the voice and you stating this claim. Thanks so much. And Jill, amen. Jill's amazing, you guys. You got to get to meet her somehow. Sometime, you guys got to meet Jill Cifelli. She's amazing. All right, Miss Mandy, how about you? You want to go next for us?
I'll try. I don't have all the wonderful background that these ladies do. I did start in the industry as a transcriptionist, and from transcription, I went to proofing, to quality, into reporting, and back into proofing, and back into quality, and back into reporting. And finally, I am now a reporting operations analyst with Remote Legal. There's my boss too. Hey.
I was gonna say the same thing, Sue.
Yes. I manage a half of the court reporters at Remote Legal. We make sure they know what they're doing, how they're supposed to be reporting, how they're supposed to be transcribing. And we just want to make sure that everybody learns what they need to learn. I'm all about learning, continuing learning. You're always a learner, always learning something from somebody. These are all my people. I was so happy to see so many people that I know show up. Thank you, guys.
It's so fun, right? I know, it's amazing. And it fits in right with you being a cheerleader of the industry too. So it was perfect fit. You absolutely have all the amazingness and credentials to be up here. So we thank you so much for that. Last but definitely not least, Miss Michelle, will you go for us?
Absolutely. Michelle Baden, and I've been in the industry for, I don't know, 30 years, I guess, somewhere around there, starting way back in the early 90s. Working coast to coast and north to south. I've reported in California and reported kind of all over the place. And as a stenographer, and then currently working with digital reporters. And also on the advocacy and continuing education committee with Merit, and currently senior digital reporting region manager for U.S. Legal Support. And speaking of learning and never stop learning, the last day I reported, the very last day I took a job, I learned something I had never known before. And it was during an arbitration. And so you never stop learning. And that's what kept me so attracted to this profession, was every day was an opportunity to be the ultimate fly on the wall.
Yes, I love that. And it's funny, I was thinking about that too, because this is honestly like the third webinar somewhere around this lines that we've had since I've been here, but it's such a popular topic that so many people ask for, because situations come up all the times that are different than something else you've experienced or something else that has happened. It is such an amazing industry. We have so many various situations that it's so valuable to have the gold to see how other people can help give you insight, because we are always learning. So it's great to have you guys here. We thank you so much. And I got to say, you guys, please, in the audience too, give them a super round applause because they're on the spot. They have no clue what you're going to ask. So they're putting themselves all out there for you. And I know you guys will give them all the love and the support. So thank you so much for that. I see a question we're going to go to in the Q&A pod. We'll go right next. I just want to ask one poll of everybody first. So let's just let us know who you are and what is your biggest challenge as a court reporter and transcriptionist. So let us know. Pop in your answers here and we'll just kind of get an idea maybe of some of what you guys are feeling the pressures of the most at this moment. So we have the first one, meeting deadlines. It can be a big thing for DRs and transcriptionists. Maintaining accuracy, staying organized might be a little bit difficult, especially if you're bouncing back and forth with different jobs, or handling difficult audio. Do any of these resonate with you? Let's see what you guys are voting for. Go ahead and get the results and see. Oh, by far, okay, handling difficult audio. We got some great tips and tools for that. Very good. I'm wondering how much of that's on the transcriptionist side, because we do have a very special transcription webinar coming up later in the year where we'll be going into like deep dive details on this stuff too. So you guys stay tuned for that. It's out there where you can register for that too. And then following kind of close behind that, we got maintaining accuracy. And then of course, meeting deadlines is great too, along with staying organized. I feel like you guys have to be organized people because we're so detailed as reporters and transcriptionists. I feel like it's somewhere in our blood if you found a system. So anyway, let's go ahead and we'll move on to the first question. All right, so Carolyn has asked, I've been using 2 computers to report, one for Zoom, one for log notes to use SonaClear, and she has a Yeti mic pointing at the Zoom computer, but I need to have a closed micless system of some kind with no exterior noise. How can I do that? Is there anybody that wants to volunteer for an option? Merritt? All right, go for it.
If I'm understanding the question correctly, I'm pretty sure that the solution is just to use a software that has the capability of recording Windows sound. So you don't have to use 2 separate computers. And if this is also me understanding you're working remotely where you're the only person in the room, everybody else is somewhere else. If that's the case, and I'm not 100% sure that SonaClear has that capability, but I would think that it would. Okay, and Mandy's nodding her head. So yeah, you want to record Windows sound, and this is what I call direct connect. And the opposite of direct connect is what I call air gap, just because I need a word for it, right? If you're recording somebody who's remote from a speaker, like this other computer, with a microphone, that's air between this speaker and this microphone recording. And that's not ideal. Of course, sometimes it happens when you're in a hybrid situation, maybe it becomes necessary to do something like that. But ideally, there's no air. You just want to record the sound your computer is making in your software directly. So I would talk to the SonaClear. I bet they do have that ability.
Okay, perfect. And I see Tori put in the chat too that she has SonaClear, and she said I can do that with a mixer and a mute switch. So Tori Lawton, she is on LinkedIn. She was a panelist for us on the last webinar. So you could reach out to her too, Carolyn. I'm sure Tori wouldn't mind. She's another huge cheerleader for all people DR and transcription. So maybe she could give you additional tips on that too.
And there are digital mixers. You don't have to use an actual physical mixer. There are non-sound gap mixers out there.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you guys. All right. So let's see here. We have the next one. What types of things do you include in your housekeeping at the beginning of a proceeding before going on the record? Michelle, do you feel comfortable answering this one for us?
Sure. You definitely want to include, introducing yourself and who you are, and then you want to include, having the parties confirm that they understand you're on the record digitally, and you want to include your swear-in and of course the appearances, and the swear-in might start with the interpreter and then the witness, and so you're kind of here's you're introducing yourself and you're introducing your the interpreter. So that from that point on, the interpreter can actually interpret everything that's happening. And then you move on to the witness and and the parties, and they all agree to the method of remote or in person that you're reporting, that you're doing, and they introduce themselves. You ask for their introductions and who they represent, and make sure that you get that as part of your housekeeping at the beginning, and then as part of your housekeeping at the end. You're going to ask the appropriate review questions and reading and all that kind of stuff, and also orders and all. And one of the most important things, I think, as part of the housekeeping is exhibits. Don't assume that they're going to send them to you, but you definitely want to confirm what the status of the exhibits are to be by the end, so that you know whether you're supposed to receive them by email, by link, or otherwise. And so you have the opportunity of the ears of opposing counsel hearing this too, so that they know what the status of the exhibits are to be as well, so that you kind of have that opposing counsel as your backup and confirmation, and so that if you are ending up having to chase down exhibits, at least they know that you have tried, and all parties are hearing you say the same thing at the same time.
Love that. Perfect. And I know one of my favorite, just to butt in there too, one of my favorite housekeeping ones, because I feel like it helps take the nerves off and set the stage, is even just letting them know that you will be calling, if you're in a deposition, you will be calling on or off the record to wait for you to do so and things like that. It kind of helps so you don't feel so bad or nervous speaking up, and then also kind of sets the stage that you're running the flow for it. So that's helpful too.
And along the same vein, like telling them to not cover their microphone, so that whenever you have to kind of signal to them that they've kind of covered it either with their hair or with their paper. And then like if they're remote, you would want to, or actually in person too, of course, like if you're wanting to tell them to mute their cell phones and things that could happen while on the record.
Love that. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, well, let's see here. Let's do that. Well, the one that's top on my list now is, what is your favorite software for capturing? So does anybody have a favorite? I used to use RS Pro. I found it to be very great to use and user-friendly. How about you, Mandy? You had one?
RS Pro is awesome. But there's like 4 that I would suggest.
Okay,
RS Pro is
let's
my
hear it.
first because I am a cheerleader for all things voice script and autoscript. MagScribe is awesome if you're technical enough for all the buttons and all of the hotkeys. It is a fabulous piece of software, but it is difficult. And you have Eclipse, you're going to fall right into MagScribe with no problem. Parrot software, I have heard a lot of good news about Parrot. It's a lot like a mix of MagScribe and RSP together, because it'll run a real time for you and let you edit as you go. So, and then Soniclear's been an oldie but a goodie. So it does take a little bit more technical know-how to use Soniclear. So RS Pro is plug and go. MagScribe is plug and go as long as you know how to use it.
Perfect. All right, great. Anyone else want to chip in on that one? Good. All right. All right. And you guys feel free to. I see some people saying in the chat what's theirs too. So that's great. You guys let each other know. The community is a huge part of what helps the world go around. So thanks for that too. Let's do one more poll. We're kind of teching some stuff on tech. So let's look at some tech opportunities. And we're going to ask you guys, how often do you encounter technical issues while working? So I'm assuming maybe there's some in there that you're looking for based on the last poll on what you voted. But let's see what you have to say. How often do you encounter it? Rarely, occasionally, frequently, or almost always? I'll give you a minute to answer in there.
I like this question.
It's interesting to see. So let's see what you guys have to say. Occasionally. Okay. All right. It's pretty much what I would have figured. If there's anything to go on, any technical, we're going to have occasionally. So
yeah, it's occasional, but when it happens. That's when it's it feels like a lot.
Right. It does. That's what sticks out in your mind. Hardcore.
And you
That's
got
a
to
very
fake it. You just act cool through it all and do what you got to do.
yeah. And that's where your confidence comes in and your experience and things like that, right? Because you're like, okay, I know what to do. Let me roll with the punches. And so that's exactly what helps get through those moments.
Yeah, I truly think that's like the biggest skill that you can have as a reporter in any circumstance is can you just be calm and cool, collected and work through something and not look rattled, you know, because any situation that's going to pop up at you, if you can just handle it that way with a cool head, the attorneys trust us and they know that we know what we're doing. And if you can demonstrate that in those really tough, stressful situations, that's everything.
I love that tip.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
remember I was writing real time for a trial at one time, and the iPads were around the room, and I had extremely close quarters, like, you know, I could reach out and touch the attorneys in the well. It was awful. But anyway, one of their iPads went down, and I was watching with my extra iPad, you know, here, everything was fine. And he's tapping me on the arm. Like I'm taking the record down, and he's tapping me on the arm and shoving his iPad in my face because it stopped working. Well, I knew my equipment well enough, and I saw the real time coming up over here. And the point is, I'm trying to make is know your equipment so well that when things go sideways, you know whether it's you or them. And I have, you know, when I'm working with reporters, I definitely, including myself, you cannot set up and take down and practice and test often enough, in my opinion. When nerves hit you and everything is starting to unravel, the last thing you want to do is worry about, you know, what do I do next? What do I do next? Just have it down to where you don't have to think about it and you just react.
Yes.
Well, and I
Amazing tip.
think too, if you're that prepared, then you have that confidence to not panic because it's no, I know my equipment well and I know how it functions. And like you said, Michelle, I know what's my problem and I know what's not my problem and what I can fix quickly and what needs to wait for a minute. And so really, I totally agree with that. Set up and take down and practice and make sure that you know all of your equipment inside and out for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And I've heard of someone bring it up too. I can't remember if it was during a webinar or offline, but Jessica in Florida mentioned it even in the courthouses. So perhaps some of those situations, IT might be responsible for managing the mics in the courtroom and things like that. But that doesn't take any of the responsibility off of making sure you understand how it works, where the fail points are, doing your own tests, and not just relying on that. So I love that tip too, you know, for our court reporters in the courtroom. Great answers, you guys. You're on fire so far. Great
I'm
question.
loving the chat pod too, because I almost wish I could react to your chat pods. Like Christine just said, one attorney tried to blame my backup for an echo, and I knew it wasn't. It turned out to be the taking attorney's computer causing the echo. There you go. Yep.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it is. That is the perfect answer. It's Bridget. All right, so let's see. All right, so Travis has a question. Some of my colleagues will be taking the AAERT exam soon for transcription. Is there any advice from you guys that I can pass along to them? I have passed the exam myself, but was wondering if you can provide another perspective. Great question. All right, anyone want to speak up? Merritt, go for it.
Happy to help with that. Yeah. And I'm assuming we're talking about the practical specifically. I'll just answer in that vein. So for the practical, I mean, for any AART exam, you want to take the practice process exams they have to make sure you're understanding what the process is going to be the day of your exam, making sure there's going to be no technical issues, no internet issues. You have to have good internet to take the exam and connect to the proctor and all of that. For the practical, for the CET, there are an actual practice test as well, or transcript, like with audio, log notes, everything that you would get for the practical is on AART's website. I think it's exam resources page. Do that practice, check your transcript against the key they have. Do it a couple times. There's also approved programs. Obviously, BlueLedge is one of them that offers training to help you get ready for the exam as well. And we have like instructor graded assignments, and those are just invaluable as well.
Love it. Great
I have a
tips.
tip for this, and it's an odd one. If you are a nervous person who doesn't like typing in front of somebody and you're afraid of the proctor, practice in front of a friend. Just sit and transcribe all you can do, because you don't want to be nervous and not able to type because you think somebody's watching you.
That is an amazing tip. I never thought about that. And I totally get like that. If someone, even in a meeting, if you're sharing the screen, people watch you type, it makes you nervous. Great tip. Thank you. All right. Very good. And that's kind of close to one poll question we had. I'm going to throw that one out there, is on training opportunities. So what type of training or resources would help you improve your skills? So one of them is advanced transcription techniques, time management, technical troubleshooting, stress management, business acumen, customer service, or other. Because there is a great way to have different avenues to help things click with you in certain ways, even with perhaps getting perspectives from people on taking an exam. That's a great example right there, just a personal experience on top of it. So let's see some of the training opportunities that you guys feel are useful out there to help you improve. And get the results for there. Are you guys done? You still going? Let's see. All right. Okay. Advanced transcription technique. Man, we're on the money for the next webinar. I'm just saying, with the the LT, we got you covered. You guys can register for that now. And then technical troubleshooting. That's a great one too. Okay, so good. Maybe some workshops in the future and things like that along those lines. Time management, stress management, a little bit neck and neck with business acumen and some other and customer service. If you guys want, you can throw in the chat too, what's your other, if there's training opportunities that you help or you would like to help, go for it. Throw that out there too. All right, thank you. All right, so let's move on to the next question we have in here. It says, can we have some tips for doing readbacks quickly and accurately, especially on Zoom? I learned how to do playbacks in court reporting school, but that doesn't seem to be as popular as they thought it would be. Do we type it out as we play it back on our headphones and then read it? Any thoughts? So I guess we're going basically between playbacks and readbacks, but how do you do a readback quickly? Okay, for it, Michelle.
Well, as readbacks, yep, they are used to readbacks. They prefer readbacks that's coming from the steno world and what they're used to. So, why not kind of provide for the client, the experience that they're used to. And so in order to do that, being able to pick something out from the record because you have clean annotations by using, maybe when they are using specific terms of art, and you can tell when they're starting to get past the background stuff and they're starting to get into the meat and potatoes of the transcript, and they're likely to ask readback of questions that are going to be maybe convoluted, maybe of an expert witness, or maybe they're busy writing down, they're going to ask readback of the last answer or the last Q&A. Certainly when they come back from a break, anticipate it, be ready to read back. Especially if you're in court and right after, maybe a lunch break or something like that, they might need to figure out where they were at. They might ask for readback, but, definitely making, marks in your annotations to help you find some of those spots, but clean annotations is really important. So if you're the type of person who thinks that you need to be verbatim and type everything out because you happen to type 120 words a minute, then you're probably going to have paragraphs and paragraphs in there that are going to be difficult to discern. So when they ask for, could you read that part back about, when he was talking about the $500,000 contract that he signed, you want to be able to find that, So those kinds of things are important. If they're talking about a contract, or they're talking about the blue car in the accident, you're going to want to kind of pick up on those cues of the things that they're constantly referring to and annotate those the same way so you can find them. So when I was writing as a stenographer, I definitely had to pick up on that kind of stuff so I could search my notes or search something. They're typically, in my experience anyway, going to ask for something fairly recent in the record. It's pretty rare that they go back and say, well, I want what was read this morning 8 hours ago, but to find things quickly, I think it really, really helps when I'm looking at annotations to see clean annotations that are easy to pull information out of and consistent, the way that you might mark things up, the way that you might use your briefing for, if I can call it that, your briefing for the way that you annotate and take log notes.
Great tips. Very great. And I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was relating it over onto the steno world. And I was going to ask you too, Andrea, as far as even like looking it up quickly and trying to find the spot and things like that. Like, how do you deal with that pressure to get back there and try to kind of find it?
Yeah. And I think that really is the most difficult thing about readbacks, right? Because it usually happens at a time, like you can always feel it coming. You know, they're getting a little bit feisty and they're going back and forth and you're thinking, they're going to ask me to read this back. And it's managing those emotions and just being calm again in that situation and taking the time you need to find what you need to find so that you can do a good job at it. I think so many reporters feel pressure to read back right now and get it perfect, and it has to be quickly. But again, if you can be calm and composed, the attorneys trust you that you got it and that it's there. Just take your time and find it and make sure that you're composed and ready to go before you read it back. But that is very hard in that circumstance, that, you know, you feel that immense pressure that the whole room is staring at you right now. And I think as reporters, we try to avoid that in our lives. We're all introverted people that, you know, just going to sit at the end of the table and not talk to anybody. So, but that's another thing really to practice. You know, if you're at home, have your spouse or your friend or someone, you know, kind of do a mock situation where they say, can you read that back, and practice with someone staring at you, finding the spot and being prepared to do that. And then it just becomes second nature and it's a lot easier.
Great tip. Love that. And something with the way that you said it too made me think of reading a book called The Magic of Thinking Big. It's your mindset too. Like, you're not the small person in the room. You're in there, a highly trained professional with other highly trained professionals. So feel free to take the time to do what you need to do to get your job done. Like, don't feel like you're the little man down there, because that's absolutely nowhere near the truth. That can't be going on without you there. So take the time and doing what you need to do.
I think there was a question, part of that question had to do with the mechanics of it. Like, how would you do it? Would you listen to it and then say it back? And absolutely, you know, listening to it and then repeating it back. And if they say, well, that's not, it's just before that, it's just before that, or it's just after that, or something like that, you're giving them the clues as you read it. But I think that there was a question about the mechanic of reading it back.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that out. Because I saw too, Carolyn put a comment in the chat to help as well that says she types as much as what she can of the question and answer using text style shortcuts, maybe like text expanders or things like that to help out, kind of along with the lines of what you were saying earlier, Michelle, too. So that's a great point too. So do that and then combine it with the practice and you'll be set.
And sorry, go ahead, Andrea.
Well, I was just going to say, in addition to that, the thing with readbacks, even stenos, we miss words and there are things that don't translate perfectly. And especially when it gets in those really tense situations. And there is a lot to be said for, you have what you have and read it with confidence. And, you know, don't be looking down and seem kind of sheepish when you're reading it. You got what you got. You're a trained professional. Nobody is perfect. And just say it with confidence and move on. And, you know, like Michelle said, if it needs to be at a different spot, if you didn't have the right question that you read back, the attorneys will work through that with you. And so, you know, like Tamara was saying earlier, you are the professional in the room. And there's so much power behind that.
Yes. And don't be on autopilot. Don't just be typing. What you need to know what you're typing.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great point. Paying attention to what's going on. Go ahead, Mary. Are you going to say something?
So the mechanics, back to that. So Michelle did say the word repeat. So the way I used to do it was I would listen to it, type it, and then literally read what I typed. But a lot of digital reporters will just listen and then repeat it back as they're listening simultaneously. So if you can do that, that's another faster way to do it.
Great. Thank you. I would definitely have to practice that. It's hard to talk if I hear my echo.
I think that's why I did it the other way. But I think the repeat back is just more effective. But I was typing so much of it already that it didn't take as much for me to edit. So that's why I went that way.
Yeah. Well, plus you get used to confidence monitoring, right? So you kind of should be able to juggle both and hearing it go through. Okay, let's go through for Ariel.
There was a question real quick where they said, where do you type it? You can type it in the annotation software as you're going, or on just a notepad that you have open for all your random notes that you have taken.
Great one. Yeah. I always would try to keep a notepad open or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Quick notes for yourself or something like that. Okay. So let's see. Thank you for helping and picking up on that, you guys. Appreciate it. Are there any webinars available for attorneys to be better informed on what we do as digital reporters? The reason I ask is that it seems they are a bit uninformed or misinformed on who we are and how effective we are at our jobs. There's a certain level of disdain we sometimes receive from them, but I believe ignorance is the main factor. Great question. Andrea, I see you shaking your head. You got some thoughts?
I am itching to answer this one. And
go for it.
I want to apologize for this lovely sunshine I have in my face. It's a beautiful sunshiny day in Boise, Idaho today. But no, this is something that I am very, very passionate about, because you are absolutely right. It is just ignorance, and we have to be educating people. And I will stand on any platform that anyone will invite me to talk about how amazing digital reporters are and the important role that you all play in our legal system. And the key is that education. And so Star is very passionate about that. That's one of our focuses this year, is we want to create that content for our clients in the legal community to see. I know AAERT is very passionate about that. We are looking for ways we can collaborate together to do that more effectively. It really is something that needs to be happening, and we need to be offering those webinars on a regular basis. So just know that we are all working very hard on your behalf to be educating the entire community so that we can get that information out there, so there's no stigma attached to what you do for a living.
Love that. Thank you.
Self-advocate too. You're out there with the attorneys. You need to let them know what you're doing and that you're great at it.
And the confidence, going back there, but the transcript speaks for itself.
Yes.
So as long as you're capturing as a digital reporter, clear audio, and then transcribing an accurate verbatim transcript, that speaks so highly to the attorney. It's like, it's what the main product that they're asking for is. So.
And you're always educating as you go. So I remember my very first real-time job in California, I was literally doing it on a bread box, right? It was massive, it was wide, it was awful anyway. And so all the cables and all that stuff everywhere. And I remember I was taking it down with a video, and was a pretty prominent real estate person in LA. And I'm doing the real time, and I'm sweating bullets, because I know, I'm nervous. Things are going to come up that are mistranslated, et cetera. And sure enough, we weren't even 10 minutes into it. The attorney stops all the proceedings and says, stop. That's not what I said. Off the record. Stop. Can you tell me why this says what it says? And I'm looking at the screen and I'm just cringing, like, oh, no, that didn't come out like that, did it? They were talking about sections of a contract. And could you please pull out section yada, yada, yada. So you can imagine how that came out. Did not come out section. And so the attorney was just beside himself. So how is this going to get corrected? And so I had to go through kind of an, on site, educational program about what phonetics are like and how we write in phonetics and that. So, whether you're digital or whether you're any type of method, there's an opportunity to teach as you go. As soon as I explained that to them, everything was fine. They just laughed about it and they moved on. They got on the record. And I never got interrupted again. And I fixed that global for sure. But it was definitely an opportunity where you could have cringed and just kind of shut down, or you could have taken the time to teach them. And they learned something that they didn't know when real time was at the very beginning stages. So, make the opportunity, take the chance, the opportunity. You never know what will come of it.
And truly, I think it's a lot of people just haven't seen it, and they haven't seen what you do. And so absolutely take the opportunity to educate yourselves. And, we were talking earlier about those housekeeping items. When you're there and you introduce yourself, give them an explanation of what you're doing there today and how you're capturing the record and how you're preserving it and why your microphones are important and why it's important that we do this and that you speak one at a time. They truly are interested, and they want a quality record. Like Merritt said, that's what they want. And they don't care about what technology you're using to capture that. They just want that final product. And so the more you can advocate for yourself and explain it, I find that people really are fascinated by it. They just don't know.
Yeah, great answer. And I like a part of how you started yours too, Michelle, where you're talking about education, because I think that's where part of it comes into. The more you educate yourself and get familiar with different ways that people might consider things that are coming in, or what the attorneys may be coming from and different stuff, it arms you for a best answer, a best way to be prepared, a best way to respond, to feel comfortable and everything like that too. So those polls kind of close to there, kind of not, but let's pull it up. It's about education opportunities, and find out from you guys, what is your preferred method for continuing education? It is a very important thing to make sure we do. We have webinars, of course, one of your choices there. Conferences, got one coming up next month in June, and then online courses or other. Let's see what you guys have. What are some of your favorite ways to stay educated and keep up with? Because sometimes you just don't know what you don't know, right? So you continue your education and find out, get good answers from there too. So let's see if you guys are done answering and pull up your answers. All right, great. 61% on the webinars is preferred method. Love to hear that. That's great. And then second behind that, online courses. So great. On the other, why don't you guys maybe pop in the chat too? What are some of your other options and ways that you like to continue your education? Would love to hear that from you there as well. All right. Following transcription sites on Facebook, group emails. That's a good one, Amy, for sure. And a mentor. Yes, love that. Mentor opportunities are a great way to learn and keep that education going. All right, so let's hop back into the chat and get the Q&A pod. By the way, you guys are amazing and fabulous that you're keeping the Q&A pod and the chat separate. That just shows how amazing you are, because that's like completely unheard of. So you guys are seriously rock stars. That's all I'm saying. All right, so you're in a remote proceeding and you have an echo in the room. How do you figure out who it is? And what if you can't figure it out and you know it's going to affect the record? Should you proceed or no? Who wants to take that one?
I'll take that one.
All right.
Christine put a good note in there. Usually the person that can't hear the echo is causing the echo.
Yes.
They'll be the one that has a phone too close to their microphone, or their microphone and speaker together. And the best way to find it out is have everybody mute and go one by one, and you'll narrow it down to who is wrong. If you can't narrow it down and there's still an echo, you let everyone know, I'm still hearing an echo. This can affect the record. Do you wish to proceed? And if you are lucky enough to have tech support for your company, you can always reach out to the company and they can see if it's a browser issue, a platform issue. Does somebody need a new computer, a new phone? But always try to work it out. And if you can't work it out, you got to let them know that it's going to affect the record. If it affects the record, it's going to affect the transcript. And that's what you're there for, is to get a transcript.
Yeah, great point. Because we have heard that before too, where we've had people say, but they just keep insisting they want to keep going no matter what. So I love that you gave an answer for that as well. It's important that they know and understand and
Yes.
go forward with that. Great. Anything else? And thank you for answering, you guys too, inside the Q&A for Christine and Barbara. That's awesome. You guys helping out. I think we're good on that one. Unless anybody else had anything else to chime in. You good? All right.
Well, I think it's always helpful to transcribe your own stuff and make sure that you're aware of it, because that will teach you a lot of lessons in a short period of time. Because if you have to hit the backspace on that foot pedal, for a half hour trying to figure out two words in a sentence, you just want to throw your job out the window.
Yes.
So if you think, oh, my transcriber is going to handle this with all their fancy audio equipment and narrow it down, think again.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. That's a great point too, because even if they can figure it out, it's going to take them longer to do that transcript, and they are going to make less money, which is not a nice thing to do to them.
Or they might charge you more too, because you're doing that to them too.
True.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah, impact the client as well. Right, great. Anything else? No? Okay. All right. So let's see. That one, let me come back. Please list the best text expander beginning with the first choice. Who's got their favorite?
I've got several favorites, but I'm a big cheerleader for Breevy.
Okay.
And I did the research a couple of years ago of who costs less, who has subscriptions. Breevy has recently added a subscription service, so it's still lower than all the others. It's programmable, like you can make it create entire paragraphs, entire sentences, make it ask you questions on what you want to put in there. The next one is Text Expander. That one is an awesome one. And Soft something. I've not used it in a while. Let me see if I have it wrote down.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Speed
think.
type, that's one I'm familiar with and I used in the past. Speed type.
Speed type, yes.
Yeah. Speed type's great.
It depends on what you're looking for too. If you're looking for something that's just going to take your autocorrects from Word and put them into something that you can use with anything, there's software for that. If you're looking for something that's going to let you be a steno with a keyboard, then you need to look for the right software for that. Don't go for just any expanding software. And don't just use Word.
Don't do it. I used to love speed type for that kind of a lot. You're saying industry specific wise, because you could have different tabs. So I'd have a tab that had shortcuts for an LRB trials, which would be different than something that would come up for my union arbitrations I would do. And like you could set up different text expanders based on that, and it would just save, which was kind of convenient.
Breevy does the same thing. You can have every one of them, you can turn them on and off, and you can import other people's expansions. So if you have a friend that has worked for years on building theirs, you can pull those in. And it also will take an entire spreadsheet of words. Like if you have a library of words that you want to make expanders for, and it can help you build the expanders for it. So
okay, great. All right, thank you.
That one is the same thing.
All right, so let's see. Jolene has a great question. It says, where do you see this industry heading with advances of AI and the push towards it? So many great people to answer on this one. Who wants to speak up? I've heard Andrea say some great things on a star keynote. I'm just saying.
No, AI really excites me. Technology excites me. There are so many exciting things happening, but nothing will ever threaten the professional in the room. And AI may continue to get better, and that's great for a rough draft transcript that then a person needs to look at to certify that record and make sure that's still accurate, that is there to stand up for the record in the room. I truly, as a reporter, I do not feel threatened by AI. We just have to learn how to use it. And more importantly, we have to educate our clients how to use it, that there are appropriate ways to incorporate AI into their practices, and there are inappropriate ways to incorporate AI into your practices. And there are so many tech companies now that are looking to replace the reporter with a quick, easy solution because they don't respect what we all do for a living. And so again, I think there are so many ways that AI can make our day-to-day lives so much more efficient and benefit us and benefit our clients. But it's really a matter of being able to fully understand it and being able to have really intelligent conversations with our clients about what that looks like. Because the more that we just say, oh, it's scary, we can't talk about that, we have to pretend that that doesn't exist, that is not beneficial. That is not helpful. We have to continue to advocate for ourselves and educate our clients on what is the appropriate way to use that kind of technology.
Yeah, great point.
I'd like to add a couple things too as well. You read articles from time to time that says digital reporting or recording, trial or mistrial or missing audio, can't create a transcript. I'm going to say it's so much more often. I can't put a percentage on it. I would love to just say it's like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. But most likely it's not a digital reporter who has been trained and is in the room as a digital reporter who is monitoring that equipment. It might be a situation where there's equipment in the room, but the judge is the one who just hits record, or the clerk. So that's the education part. Like, we have to be aware that, like, in those situations, if like an attorney says, well, I heard this and this, like, that's most likely because it wasn't being monitored by a trained professional, somebody who knows just as much as any other type of method of reporting, as understands how a proceeding works, the rules of civil procedure, and when all the rules that we are talking about today. It's just somebody who's maybe just clicking record and not paying attention, not confidence monitoring, and all the things that we have to do as trained individuals. And just another reason why certification is so important, that we can say we're certified. These letters behind my name mean something. It says, like, I care about what I'm doing and I'm going to protect the record.
Great point. Perfect. I'm glad you added that in. And that's kind of close to one of our poll questions. So we'll throw one more out to you guys. Well, we have others too, but this one on rolling with changes. So how do you stay updated with industry changes and best practices? And it is a very critical time to be up on your game with that, because there are so many changes coming out there. Things are moving quickly, and it's a great time to be in the know and be advised and educated on what's going on. So what are some of your ways that you like to stay updated? Again, got online courses, social media, networking with peers, industry publications, or other? What do you guys have? So many different ways to do it. And you might obviously do multiple depending on what kind of information you're looking for and what you're
All
doing.
the above.
Yeah, all the above. That would have been a great one, right? Yeah. Yep, good point. All right, let's see what you guys have to say for that. And Cora agrees with you, Michelle. Cora said all of the above too. All right. And split through networking, online courses, great ways, and then industry publications and social media coming on right behind them. And then for the other two, if you guys want to put in there, maybe those are the all of the aboves, but if you want to put that in the chat as well, it's good to know. It's definitely an important thing to do to stay in tune. So thank you for filling that out, you guys. Okay,
you have to make sure you're educating yourself. You have to. You can't just trust somebody else saying, oh, well, I heard this. You have to look into what everybody says.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that. That's true. You do. You're your own person, whether you're working for an agency, whether you're working for courthouse, no matter what, you are your own asset, right? So improve on that and take your own steps to get there. Same thing once you get your certification, side point, make sure you're keeping up with it and doing things on that and your membership too. Just side note. Okay, so kind of along these lines too. So Caroline has a question or kind of a statement, but I'm feeling like it's to start a question. I feel like not so many reporters know how to work freelance and essentially be a business owner. So it's definitely a different aspect, right? Coming along with that. Michelle, you have some thoughts on that?
That is definitely was a game changer for me to figure out how to run my own business. And I gave myself a massive raise. So I encourage everybody to go and get some time with a small business CPA. Go and just have a talk with them. If they, charge you $100 or $75 to talk with them for a half hour, and look into becoming an LLC or an S Corp or something like that, so that everything that you do to educate yourself, to purchase equipment for your business, to having lunch with a prospective client, a prospective transcriber, prospective anybody, everything, and you will learn that everything you do affects. It's not what you make, it's what you keep that counts. Okay. So a small business CPA will help you figure that out. And when I did that, I was probably 6 years into my career, and I finally figured that out, and it was a game changer. I gave myself a massive raise, and it was just because I figured out how to structure myself with the help of just a small business CPA guy who really only charged me $350 a year to do my taxes. And he just said, you just got to follow these rules. And he helped me incorporate. And that was a little bit, charged me $300 there. Now that was a while ago, of course, might be spending $500 now, but so worth it. So worth it. So I would definitely do that. And then you'll discover how much you can actually write off of all your day-to-day stuff that you do and the expenses you incur.
Great point.
I would really recommend, if you can find a mentor, another reporter that has been doing this longer than you have, that has traveled this road, You know, I took my first deposition when I was 18 years old. You know, I had no idea what I was doing in life, much less being a business owner. All of a sudden, you know, you go to court reporting school to learn this specific skill. And then it turns out you own your own business. And, you know, like Michelle said, it takes you a few years to get into your groove. The more quickly you can do that, the more successful you're going to be in every aspect of reporting. And so the value of finding a mentor who has been down that road and understands all of the nuances of what we do for a living, it's absolutely invaluable.
That's great. Yeah. And can save you so much time and sweat and sticky situations and everything in between, right? Yeah, for sure. Great. Thank you, ladies. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so we have another question. It says, what is the role of a digital reporter in an arbitration setting? One of my reporters was shut down from doing a read-on, swearing in, asking appearances, etc. And then another reporter was asked to swear in a witness and mention some exhibits. Would we collect exhibits is another question. So kind of multifaceted ones in there. Anyone want to take a stab at one or two of those facets in there? Overall general rule in arbitration?
Yeah, I mean, the arbitrations do have kind of their own nuance about them, and they're not just a non-jury trial. You know, that's the chair takes, you know, charge, and there is a lot of times the chair is a member of the bar or an attorney, and they do the swearing in. They have joint exhibits. You know, trials have agreed upon exhibits sometimes, but arbitrations a lot of times have joint exhibits as well as petitioner and respondents, and you typically don't get exhibits. They agree that they all have a copy and they have them pre-marked by their office. So there's a lot of different nuances around an arbitration that don't translate from a deposition or even a trial.
Yeah. And
again,
I used to like
a good mentor who's
yeah.
had those, like Andrea was saying.
Yeah, right. Or if it's a certain contract, maybe someone else, you know, like because they do kind of handle it different. Even arbitrators seem to handle it different from another. I had one that was great that would come in and he'd say, I prefer if you would please swear in the witness and I'll handle this, this, and this. So it's something you could kind of clear out with them too in the beginning, because there are some different lines depending on certain arbitration companies that they go through and stuff like that. So you could always make that a part of your housekeeping to clear up before you go on the record, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Any other thoughts on that one, you guys? No? All right. Let's see. Okay, maybe, okay. Looking for the questions, bear with me. What is your recommended response when an attorney points to your backup recorders and introduces you to the witness as the court recorder, not reporter? Mary, you got one for that?
Yeah, well, it's kind of back to what I was saying before. Like, we are not button pushers. We are not a piece of machinery. We are professionals operating the machinery. And so I don't like court recorders. We are court reporters, and we use digital reporters. I'm sorry, digital recorders. That's a same thing happening there. And yeah, it's just back to needing to show them that we are professionals knowing what we're doing. So
But I think again too, it's another one of those opportunities to not take offense. I've had attorneys call me a recorder, and one of my favorite clients in the world here in Boise, he calls me the clerk. Every time I'm in a deposition with him, this is Andrea, she's the clerk. And it just drives me crazy, but it's, you know, it's usually inadvertent when they do it. It's generally not on purpose. And again, really great opportunity to educate and say, nope, that's not actually what I do here. But you certainly will run into that from time to time.
Yes, very good point. Roll with the punches, right? All right, let's see. We have a question. Do you think certification is really that important? If so, why? And then the second part of that, is it more important as a CER or a CET? How about you, Mandy? You want to voice in on that one? I see some expressions. You're ready to go.
I think it is very important to be certified. Only because you're trying to advocate for yourself. If you don't have a couple of letters behind your name, you are just a court recorder as far as they know. And you're not a court reporter. You're a court reporter who has put in the time, the dedication to learn what you're doing. And for transcribers, that lets the person know that you're transcribing for that you've taken the time to learn the process, to learn what you're doing, and you are good enough to pass the CET. It's not an easy test. It's not. So get them both if you can. Become the whole thing, but I don't think one is better than the other. If you are a reporter, you need your CER. If you're a transcriber, be a CET. If you're both, have them both. And there's a CDR too, the certified deposition reporter that we have now. So get what works for you, which one you actually are.
And there are some areas where the rules of civil procedures have CER baked into the rules. So having a CER will help you as the reporter, because it's a recognized, it's been recognized in some, not all, I'm not going to say all, but it has been recognized in some rules of civil procedure designating what kind of reporter can take the proceedings in their courthouse, their court system. So certification, as you can see from a lot of us, we believe in it, and it definitely has you stand out from the rest if you're going to get a job in a courthouse or in someplace else, and or with an employer. If you're certified, they're looking at you before somebody else that's not. I guarantee you that.
Well, and certifications, they open doors. My best story about certifications, the certifications that I had, I started getting those when I was 18, and I just kept running through them until I had them all. And I had no specific reason why, other than I just wanted to be the best professional that I could be. And I was sitting at a conference, at a court reporters conference back in 2014, and Nancy Varela was presenting about the team in Guantanamo Bay doing the 9/11 trials. And I thought, well, man, that sounds cool. And it turns out to do that, you had to have this many certifications. And I already had those certifications. And so that opened a door that I did not even know existed. That if you hear about an awesome opportunity, but then you have to work to get those certifications, it's going to take you longer. So just get those certifications. They will open up doors for you, open up opportunities. And I think the other important thing about certifications, attorneys know that if you have certifications, along with that comes continuing education that's required. And so that also has a certain connotation with it of, I am constantly working to improve myself to be the best professional that I can be for you today. And that's also very important. So like Michelle said, I think it's really obvious that all of us here really value certifications. But absolutely, I would encourage all of you to get as many as you possibly can.
My state required me to have either the CER or a steno certification to even get my license. So I was happy to do it. I already had it when I went for my license, but
when preparation meets opportunity, that's when the magic happens, right?
Yes.
Right. Yep. Merritt, were you going to say something too?
Just that I had thought, oh, I want to get certified at some point. I think it was like 2012 that I started learning digital reporting, and then probably early 2013, a new client was coming on our radar. It would be like a business giving us their corporate business, which is a big deal for a court reporting agency. And they said that we only want to work with your certified digital reporters if they have their CER, and then of course like their RPR or whatever for the stenographers. So that's what pushed me to finally do it. And I kind of wish I had the altruistic, like, Andrea, I need them, gotta catch them all. But you can see how, like, I need it, like, you can get more business from it, whether it be like getting hired or getting other contracts and things.
Yeah, and you get more money. You do.
I was going to say, yeah, a lot of places.
Yeah, places will pay for the initials, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, great. And we got a new catchphrase, got to catch them all. We can bring that from other spots and industries, right? We can make it our own. All right, great. So next question. If we've only done online depositions, how hard would it be to transfer to in-person court reporting? I'm nervous about getting in there and looking like I don't know what I'm doing because I've never had a setup like that before. Great question, and a fair one that I think probably a lot of people have. So is there anybody that would speak to that? It probably, I don't know, has anybody on here started out remote and then had to go in person? Or did everybody kind of do in person first here? Not that it matters, just curious. Yeah.
I've always been remote.
Okay, you've always been remote.
I've done one in person and it scared me to death. But I prepared for it beforehand. I made sure I had everything. I set it up twice before the day before I left. I set it up twice. I set it up twice the day before and twice the day before. So I knew it was going to work. I knew my equipment, just like everybody has said, know your stuff and know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do is if you're thinking about going into trial or, you're going to have to go into trial at some point in time, go take a field trip. All those trials are open courts. There aren't any really private trials in a courtroom with locked doors. After they finish picking the jury, you can just go in and observe and start to peel away the layers of anxiety, like who's who in the courtroom and where do I go and where's the court reporter sit, and okay, that must be the bailiff because he's got a uniform on. Oh, that must be the clerk. And just do a field trip for yourself. And then the mentor thing, like Andrea and the rest of us have been talking about, is see if you can shadow somebody and go on a job and just observe. And a lot of times the attorneys are willing to take an intern and just call yourself or be introduced as an intern for the day, and be willing to take the time to go, expose yourself to that environment so that you know what to expect. And then, like Mandy said, is I cannot encourage you to set up and take down often enough, because when all eyes are on you, or as has happened to me, I've set up completely in a courtroom before, only to come in and be ready to go, and the judge says, "Oh," or the bailiff says, "Nope, we're going to do it in a different courtroom." And so you're scrambling to get everything pulled up and reset up, and so you're already nervous. And so why not go in and just take a field trip and go do some exploring and get a mentor and have them let you tag along for the day.
Yeah. And talk about a way to make yourself marketable, right? You're throwing yourself out there, you got additional skills, have a very high in demand skill set that people are looking for. That's a great thing too. And the fact that we have fear just means we need to push through it and accomplish it and move through it, because that's where we grow, right? I mean, honestly, taking action on it is where you're going to move through and become the best version of yourself. So don't let that stop you, even though it can be nerve-wracking. I know I've certainly been there too, but it's worth it to yourself. Go ahead, Merritt.
It means that you care, that fear that you're feeling. It means, and whenever I hear students saying like, I'm nervous, and I'm just like, already I'm feeling like you're going to do a much better job than you think, because it's that nervous. Like, because if you don't care, I don't want to work with you from the court reporting agency standpoint or courthouse, because I want you to care about the record. But two other quick tips on that, because I just can't stop thinking about it, is first of all, you're the only one who knows you're nervous, so the confident thing, but also we talked about this in one of our previous webinars, but it's so helpful, is calming yourself, doing like belly breaths, feeling like grounding yourself, and just having that confidence, but also in what you're wearing is going to help you. Overdress. Even if you think it's nicer than it needs to be, that will help you with your confidence to know that there's no big questioning even what you're looking like. So
great tip. Love it. Back to the
magic. I love it when I walk into a deposition and the attorney thinks that I'm opposing counsel. And I'm like, no, I'm the court reporter.
That's compliment.
It just really does.
That's how you know. That's how you know you walk in right.
It's true.
You've arrived.
you got the right swagger when they think you're the attorney.
Yep, exactly. And then I'd encourage you too to look at the chat, because people who have done in person, they're saying, I love it. It's actually my favorite. It's easier than remote. So a lot of times the fear of the unknown makes it a little bit bigger than what it was, than, what it needs to be or what it is. So, that's part of networking and talking to people too, as you kind of get past through it on that side too.
I feel like they have more courtesy of everybody when you're in person, they don't I don't want to say they ignore you, but they see you in person, and everybody has a different demeanor when you're working it together in the same room live in person than you do remotely.
It's true.
Well, and two, in a lot of areas, we have so much trouble finding reporters that will go in person. The attorneys are so thankful to have you there. that they needed you in person and that you were there in person. And so they really are willing to go above and beyond to make sure that you're comfortable and that you have what you need. And, you know, and that's how you become a member of the team with those attorneys that you're working with that day. And that's how you build those relationships and build your brand. You know, it all ties into that. So I've always preferred in-person depositions. I really like those opportunities to network and build those relationships that you just don't get to do that remotely. So there's a lot of rewards once you get there, even though it's completely scary and intimidating before you do it the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. And the worst part's your equipment and setup and knowing the room and your directions and things like that, right? So you can go with that with practice. You get there. The rest is the same. Like you're gonna have the same situations. Okay, so let's see. So Hazel says, working remotely is a big challenge when asking for a pay raise. What are the best ways to convey asking for a bump on a pay scale? So big question in any industry you're in. How do you try to get a little bit extra something if you think you've earned it? Anybody have any good tips? You have a couple prior business owners on here.
I'd be happy to answer. As somebody who used to manage digital reporters, something that I always considered was, can I rely on you? Do you have a history of being reliable, whether it be being timely to jobs, turning in your assignments on time, customer service aspect, like, you know, hearing good things after the clients work with you. Even if like the best compliment is when they request to work with you again, for example, those things are going to be a big indicator to me whether you'd be eligible for a raise.
Great tips, remote or not.
And certifications.
Certifications, right? Definitely
yes.
go back to the certifications. Yep, love that.
I know as a firm owner, the reporters that are willing to bend over backwards for me, I am willing to bend over backwards for. And like Merritt was saying, it's that relationship that you build with the firms that you work for, that if you are a team player, you know, I am happy to give you a raise and I am happy to keep you happy because you work hard to keep me happy and we all look out for each other. And again, that's all part of building your brand and the kind of reporter that you are. And it makes it a lot easier to have those conversations with firm owners when you know that there's that mutual respect and the value that you bring to the table.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, like, man, what about a reporter that's willing to hop on a last minute depo or a like last minute scheduled hearing or something like that? Like, man, you're gonna take care of those people because
and transcriptionists. I can't tell you how many times like calling at, you know, in the afternoon after the depo that ended at 6 p.m. they want tomorrow. I'm just like, please. And then what ends up happening for those transcriptionists is not only would I want to pay you more, but I am going to give you more work, so, you know, so, and you're going to get more for the expedites that you say yes to. So thank you.
It's a win-win.
Know the industry standard of how much pay is out there too. If you think you're being undervalued, you need to know what the industry standard is.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's definitely options out there too. So good point. Another part of advocating for yourself too, right? To know what's out there and what you're worth. Okay, so we have another great question. Do you have to have your CET to transcribe your own reports? So this could vary somewhat, maybe depending on state or contract. Anybody? Merritt, you got some thoughts?
That was just my exact thought. Just depending on your state of contract. I mean, usually, most of the time, no, but in some states, yes, absolutely, or some jurisdictions.
Yeah. And then let's see, what are the best online courses to take to retain the 30 credits required to maintain my CER certification?
I know this one.
Go for it.
Other than the BlueLedge courses, AutoScript has a course that you can take that's free that will give you all 3 credits. It's one time for only one round, but they do have a Scopus training course that helps you get into their software, helps you see how to transcribe and use proper software for transcription that will give you all the CEUs you need for one time.
Great. Get them in the year.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And we do, obviously, BlueLedge does have them too. So you go to the CEU page, our continuing education page on BlueLedge, and there's a whole list of them that you can get. And then I guess it's not you asked for online courses, but there are webinars and conferences that you can get them from.
And AART will be doing some they were going to have one, but I think it got rescheduled or something. So those will be coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
And they were asking, what did I actually say? I said AutoScript, but it's TCRA. It's the Court Reporting Academy that trains you how to use AutoScript. Sorry about that.
I'm so used to hearing all the acronyms for them too, so it didn't even like phase me. So yeah, I'm glad someone has on that one.
You do. I think you do have to download their software to your system in order to do that, and then
yes, and it is not
so
just your stuff you have to do.
Right. So if
download it.
if you're used to doing it in a different software, just know when you take that one, you're gonna have to download their software and learn it. But like you said, it is free. Just have to make sure you know that you're not going to learn it through TCRA and then use your own software.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So many good tips, you guys. We have another one. It says, for the DRs that want to work freelance, how would they best go about getting their work transcribed? Hire transcribers, or would it be better to become a transcriber as well? A little bit of a personal question, but what do you guys think? Any thoughts?
Well, where do you make your money? Do you make your money transcribing? Do you make your money taking another job? That's something to consider. And also, what do you enjoy doing? Do you enjoy taking the work, or do you enjoy transcribing, or like a balance of both? But when I was working, well, it didn't matter. I had a transcriber in each time zone, so that when I got out of the job, I knew if it expedited and I was in Florida, it was going to California. If it expedited for a few days, expedited for the next day, it was going to California because they were 3 hours behind if I was in Florida. So it helps to kind of get into those communities and try them out and develop a relationship with somebody who's your transcriber or your so if you don't take the time to develop those relationships, and you come into a long day and a lot of work, or rush expedite overnight, and you're just not going to have the resource to be able to get it out, and that's your money maker. And also, if the client knows you can do that, then you're likely to get another big piece of work. And the more difficult high-end stuff that they're doing expert testimony of, and it's going to trial soon, all that stuff expedites, and it's typically they typically want it faster when you make more money, so it's expedited. So the transcriber, or the that you're using, you might say, well, I don't want to pay my money out to them. They are worth gold. They are just worth gold. So I can't say enough about developing a good relationship and having a good one-on-one with them, because I even trained my sister-in-law who wanted to know, and she was in Florida. So one in 3 different time zones was so helpful.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, even if you do your transcripts yourself the majority of the time, by all means, have your networking and your backup in place for the time where maybe you can't do the transcript, right? You have a job scheduled, or it's a week-long trial, or whatever the situation is. Different things is probably a good option that way too. There's definitely nice flexibility to being able to do both if you choose it. Wouldn't you agree? Anyone here, Mandy?
Oh yeah, it depends on where you're working, because some places pay the court reporter a per page rate. So if you're going to be getting the rate for both the transcription and the reporting, and you have the time, you have to know how to transcribe. And transcription is not for everybody. Just because you're a court reporter doesn't mean you can transcribe, and just because you're a transcriptionist doesn't mean you can court report. So if you can't transcribe, hire somebody. And there's so many resources out there.
Great. Thank you, ladies. All right, let's see. After getting your CET and don't want to go into digital reporting, what's your next higher professional step, or the next certification to get? So this could be kind of industry-wide. I mean, honestly, for anyone that's but I guess if you already have the CET skills, let's start with there. Does somebody have a thought on like what some next steps could be?
I know that NVRA has a couple certifications for transcription. They have a scoping one, they have a transcription one. They have a bunch of certifications. So
great. Yes, yeah, Sandra just put in the chat too about scoping being the next one.
There are pools also of scopists and transcribers. So they, kind of work in a small community where you're working with just a few reporters, and you're in a pool so that if this reporter's got a lot of work or a couple reporters have a lot of work coming in, it's kind of like working on a team, and you develop a good relationship with this team, and this team is bringing work in that you don't necessarily have to go out and solicit yourself. And they can range from regular turnaround to rush rate and this, that, and the other. And so if you're working with a team, you're not always the one stuck with the rush jobs. You might be able to work with that team and have somebody else cover that stuff. So that's kind of an interesting idea, is to maybe get involved with a team of transcribers or scopists so that you have options and you're not really have to lose. Like, I was always afraid of losing, or the transcriber would be afraid of losing a client if they took a vacation, right?
Yeah, that's a great tip. And then it leads you to different things where maybe you could take it if you wanted to in the future to management positions or different things like that, or maybe be an instructor or different things like that too, right? You have the experience and working with the team on things like that could help.
That's what I did. I went from transcriptionist to proofreader so I could help other people be transcriptionist.
Perfect
And
example.
you just keep going with the flow.
And I see Amy put in here, and I really like it. We should all get better at scoping with an ASR environment.
Yes.
So that's like another professional milestone there.
Yeah.
Get more effective, get more pages done. So
we have a question related to that says, what is a scopist? A scopist basically proofreads ASR, AI put out information. So you become a proofreader and an editor in one. That's what the digital scopists are. There's also scopists for the stenos that does something slightly different. I think they use the audio in a different way. Andrea, would you?
They go through. So I have my rough transcript, and so they'll go through and fix any untranslates. They'll spot check my audio for me. And it's kind of the same thing Michelle's talking about as a steno. Like, you want to work with those people because it just makes your workflow go a lot smoother. And so that's absolutely another option that you could get into as well, is the steno side of things.
I always think of scoping as proofing with audio.
Yes.
And proofing is proofing without audio.
There was a time in California where you were not allowed to record as a stenographer. I'm not sure if you heard of that, Andrea, or not, but I remember when I first got out of school, they were not allowing us to use any audio backup. And I was I think I must have thrown away 3 or 4 suits in the beginning of my career just because nobody should be reporting this, including me. And this it was awful. So, but it definitely got me to a point of being very, very much of an advocate for the record. And I didn't let anything slip because there was no backup but me. I think that's since a passe now, but.
Well, and I love all the comments that I'm seeing about, everyone should transcribe themselves at least once. And we've talked about that because that makes you a more fierce advocate for the record. Because as a stenographer, I know what I'm going to have to dig out later and what I'm going to have to fix and how much work that's going to be for me down the road if I don't speak up right now and clarify. And so when you don't have that experience, it's just so important so that you're a really good advocate for the record to understand what your transcriptionist is going through when they're trying to dig those things out, and that you're willing to stand up and say, nope, I need to clarify. You two need to stop talking at the same time, and really be an advocate.
That's a great point. Love that, for sure. Even if you're not going to transcribe all the time or be a full-time transcriptionist, do that for sure.
That's where AI, I think, is going to come in too. ASR and AI. When I know when I was doing real time and they couldn't see it, it was not coming up right, they would question me, well, what's wrong? And if I had a good enough relationship with them, I would let them know, garbage in, garbage out. So slow down. But AI and ASR is definitely going to show that to them very prominently as that comes into play.
Great. All right, let's see. I think we got time to get more in here. Let's see. The in-person jobs I've covered have often been in echoey office space type rooms. My home is big, very private, and very quiet with no echo. Is it a viable possibility to offer to host in-person depositions in my home? After all, it's my office. Any thoughts?
My first thought is probably not. Can't hurt to talk to your, I mean, it depends. I don't see. The only jobs I ever did out of house was like for adoption signings and things like that. And it was always, it just doesn't have that professional business atmosphere that attorneys are used to. I'd say it's most likely no, but who knows?
And you know, one thing I think you should think about is you as a reporter do this every day, right? This is your job. It's the attorney's job. That witness come into your house, not so much. This is not an everyday job for them. They don't want to be there.
And they're not
if they
always
have
the
a bad-
sweet, innocent person. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And I would not want some of these
And
folks.
insurance. Yeah, you can't do that.
Stranger danger.
Yeah.
That was my
Could fall
generation.
in your house. So anyway.
Andy, that's a great point. I got to say that can't be minimized because you don't know the witness or different people come into your house and you're no longer a neutral party if they know where you live. So, but you can rent conference rooms and meeting spaces and things like that. So maybe that's something you would want to look into, a little bit more of a controlled environment. So, all right, let me see here. We've made it through the, okay, this one last question is the easy one. It says, is this meeting being recorded? Yes. It will be available live on our BlueLedge website under webinars. And also, you guys, we have started converting these over to, you can get a paid CEU credit for this if you did not catch it live, and which all of you are, obviously. But if you ever miss one, you can come back after the fact to our website and catch them there as well. And very reasonably priced, and you could get your webinars in that way too. Or you could always get them free on our YouTube site too and our website if you aren't looking for the CEUs for them. But I just got to say, everybody, you have been amazing. The audience, the panelists, we didn't know exactly what we're getting into with this, but it was amazing and perfect. You guys were as amazing and perfect as I thought I knew you would be on the panelist side for sure. And our audience never lets us down. Like, they are so inquisitive, friendly, conversational. This is why I say I love this industry, and genuinely can say it to anybody considering and looking to get in, because look, this is just proof positive. Look at the support that you have with one another. It's so fun to see. It's amazing. So thank you so much, panelists, for your time, your bravery. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Tamara, for hosting.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We got through all the questions. I love that.
I know. I'm so excited.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. And so the survey is going to be coming out to you guys tomorrow. So we'll email it to you. It'll have a link. Again, when you get to the end, hit submit, wait. Don't leave the website yet. And then you'll get your certificate, download it, and you'll be good to go. And we hope you guys have an amazing, amazing evening. Thank you for sticking with us. We love you and appreciate you so much. So everybody have a good night. See you later.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.